All right, pleased to be joined at this time by Coach Caleb Carmean from Kennesaw Mountain High School, head football coach. Coach, thanks for being on with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
Good to
absolutely.
talk some football.
Yeah, talk a little community support. One of the things I think that gets lost in the Twitter world a little bit. I love talking X and O football. And I think it because of what all we're doing, it may feel like I don't, because I kind of stay away from that with the posting because I feel like it's very saturated and play. Offense and defense, all of them work. I have my preferences. I love to talk about it, defend them. They all work. People really struggle with these topics we're talking about, which and all of them kind of go hand in hand. Building a culture, handling parents, gaining community support. These are things that people are not doing well. And so anytime we can get somebody to share a little knowledge of that, we're going to do it. And I know you guys do a good job out there gaining community support. I've heard some good things about you. So I'm personally looking forward to hearing what you got to say. So tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got to start and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank you for having me. I'm the same way as you. I like to talk football, but you know, really for me, I've enjoyed it more now as I've gotten into this position. The community side of it, that's the fun stuff, getting out in the community. So I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah, I got my start. I'm from Kennesaw. I grew up, born and raised in Cobb County. I actually graduated from Kennesaw Mountain in 2005. Played football there for Scott Jones at the time.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I went on. I went to Shorter, played football at Shorter. I was on that inaugural football team up there and played for Phil Jones. So, those first two guys I played for were just,
Yeah, top-notch guys.
Yeah, man. That's where I shaped a lot of who I am. From there, after I got done playing at Shorter, I went on and I GA'd for Coach Jones for about a year and a half. Honestly, that's kind of where I never really thought I wasn't one of these guys. Some of these guys grow up, they just know they're going to be a football coach. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to coach football. I knew I loved football. I knew I loved playing football. I liked talking about it. But once I started, getting into the GA stuff as a grad assistant for Coach Jones, and I was one of the first grad assistants because we were such a young program. So I was given a lot of responsibility and, really got to learn from him firsthand. That's when I caught the itch, I guess, or caught the bug that I wanted to be a football coach. And I think a lot of that is shaped by Coach Jones and the type of man he is. And I think that's where I based my coaching philosophy off of, and that's where it was shaped, was with Phil Jones up at Shorter. From there, I went on. I was at Coosa High School in Rome for a year. And then after that 1 year, I was given an opportunity to be an offensive coordinator at Johnson High School in Gainesville for 4 years. Went out there, and that's kind of where I decided that I want to be a head coach, and I wanted to have this. If this is an opportunity I want to do, I need to put the effort in now. And that's where I really, I was an first time offensive coordinator. I think I was 24 at the time, but I really dove into the full aspect of it. As far as I went to Booster Club meetings. I sat in on budget planning. I went out to the community with the head coach. I dove in completely at the time because I knew if I wanted to be a head coach, I wanted to learn everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly about it. So I was out there for 4 years as an offensive coordinator. And then from there, Coach Andy Scott gave me an opportunity to come back home to Kennesaw Mountain. My wife, Misty, is from here also. And at the time, we were having our first daughter. So, as a football coach, anytime you can get close to home with grandparents and that help, it's always
Absolutely.
So we came back here for 2 years, and after 2 years, Coach Scott left, and I interviewed and was blessed with the opportunity to get the head coaching job here in 2018. But I really feel like, as far as my coaching philosophy and who I am, a lot of my philosophy, or a lot of who I am as a football coach, was shaped by, like I said, by Phil Jones at Shorter. But since I've been in this position, and as I was preparing to be in this position, I really leaned heavily on Scott Jones, who was my head coach at high school in Kennesaw Mountain, and then he was at North Paulding for a while, and kind of did a good job putting them on the map. And I mean, you talk about a community guru.
Yeah, he's
that's
it.
The guy.
He's it.
He's a politician, is what he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's it.
Football.
Yeah, so you learn from some good ones, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
So when we were putting this little course together, we're working on for this. We kind of tried to analyze some places like Kennesaw Mountain where they have good community support, and we thought these were really the things that kept coming up. That They had good organization and plans. There was collaboration. There was some kind of great social media presence. Maybe it was even websites, whatever, but there was some kind of promotion of the program. There was a trust between the community and the team, and there was a great game day culture. I mean, people wanted to be there on game day, whatever. So, my question for you is more, how do you work on these things to gain community support? You can take them one by one if you want, or you can answer to the whole. But what did you guys do to help gain community support in these? You'll find that most of them fall in one of these 5 categories.
Yeah, well, first, for me, for all of these categories, I think it all starts with relationships. You've got to either create those relationships in your community, or if you've already got that initial relationship, you've got to really work to develop those relationships. After you get those relationships, it then falls into, you got to have a plan. Same way as a Friday night on offense, defense, and special teams, you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan for the community as well. What do you want your community presence to be? What do you want your community support to be? So you got to have a plan in place. And then I think, it falls into alignment. I'm really big on, on now, I guess, and we'll talk more about it later as far as improving or, learning from past mistakes. But, you got to have alignment with your booster club, with your parents, and with you as far as this is the brand, this is what we want to create, this is the image that we want to have in our community, and that everybody's got to be on that same page there with that. And then, for me, and this is where I'm probably a little bit different than a lot of guys, I think that it has to be me doing it. If I'm going to be the face of the program, the same way on a Friday night, if we win or lose, it's going to fall on me, and I'm going to take the credit, and I'm going to take the blame every time. I think the same thing has to be said in the community. If you're going to ask to be the face of the program, it needs to be you that those business owners see. You need to be the one who's shaking hands, who's talking to those people, who's it requires a lot of time and a lot of effort. And, I'm blessed to have a great family, a wife and kids who support us. But, this is who we are. This is the community I was raised in. This is a community who, supports a lot of what we're doing. So I'm going to be the one that's out there at all the festivals. I'm going to be the one that's going into the restaurants, that's shaking hands, that's talking to them. So I think that, those are the first, as far as the way I look at it, that's the first idea that you got to have to check all these boxes.
Absolutely.
For organization and planning, when I got to Kennesaw Mountain, when I got the head coaching job, Cobb County is very saturated with high schools. There's, I think, 17 high schools in our county. So that, you got to do something to stand out. You can tell in the community who puts that effort in and who doesn't, as far as, what you see, how often do you see them. When I got the job, my very first booster club meeting, I told them, I said, look, this is our theme. We're going to paint the town green. That's what I want to get across. I want people to get sick and tired of seeing a Kennesaw Mountain football sticker. It's Kennesaw Mountain football green on everything. We're going to paint this town green. That was kind of our initial, surge in the community was, anytime that we're going to go spend however much money it costs to make, those little car magnet stickers. We're going to make as many. I want to make, thousands of those. And I want you to give them out like it's candy on Halloween, as much as you can. Anytime you see somebody, give them out. And I even told some of my parents, I was like, look, when you're walking through a big Kroger parking lot, slap a few on the cars as you're leaving, just to make it on there. But I wanted us to have that presence in the community. I want people to see us. So organization and planning wise, we identified who the businesses that have always supported us are. And I went in, I think within the first, I got the job in January, and I think January, February, and March, I was in every business, meeting the owners, those support people. As well as I do, Coach, it takes a whole community to support a football program the right way, and especially when it comes to feeding them. That's why
however many people if you've never been the head football coach, however many people you think it involves more than that. So
without a doubt,
it takes a lot of people to run a football program.
And that was, when we laid out the plan of, who we're going to go after, we also then we touched base with everybody that we already had, and then we identified some new ones. We said, okay, how do we get those guys involved in it? And, my pitch, and I think it's crazy times right now with everything going on, but it's starting to pay off right now, which is crazy, is, it's got to be a two-way street. It's really easy to sit back and say, hey, can you feed us for a pregame meal? Can can you buy this fence sign? Can you do all that? They don't ever really see it other than, free advertising that they see on a Friday night when they see their sign. Right now we're preaching that two-way street thing because we're trying to go out and support some of our local businesses right now because, these restaurants right now is what's
Yeah, they're hurting.
So that's who we're trying to do what we can as a booster club to whether pay for meals that we're going to have down the road or, just to try to help them out right now and just blast it all over social media to get out and, support those who support us. So that's what, we preach two-way street. I'm hoping it's becoming more and more evident now, during these tough times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just think if you want to have great community support, you have to first have a plan. There has to be a plan. It sounds like y'all had a plan. And I don't think it has to be like everybody else's plan because, Kennesaw is a different community than other places. Other people might be listening to this. But you have to have a plan. And I know that sounds correct. It sounds like something so simple. But I'm telling you, I would put it into 80% of the coaches out there do not have a plan for community support. They have a couple things they say in the Booster Club meeting that sound good, but not a plan of this is what we're going to do to gain some community support. And then be willing to change the plan. We got a whole thing about plans, and plans can always change, but you got to have a plan. The next thing I think is you got to collaborate, meaning you got to work with some different groups. Now, at a single A school, that might mean doing a few sports working together on one thing, collaborate. You guys are a big school. You don't have to do that. But y'all have to collaborate, too, on collaborating with the businesses. And I think you kind of already hit that on it can't just be we're asking you for money or we need you to bring all these youth, say it's a youth night and we're going to bring out all the youth kids that are little Mustangs are coming out. But you've never done anything for them. You just ask them to come out when it looks good for you. There has to be a genuine collaboration among those, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, without a doubt. Our collaboration, like you said, because we're a bigger school, it's everybody in their own lane a lot of times as far as that community stuff goes. But our youth program is in the process of being rebuilt. We didn't really have one; it was non-existent, and now we're starting to create it. But we're creating it that same mentality of having a two-way street. We're going to support them. We're going to let them play in our stadium. There's nothing that gets a 6 or 7-year-old kid more fired up than getting to play on the varsity stadium. You know what I mean? So that's where we collaborate with them. And when I look at that collaboration, the way I look at it is we're going to have a presence. We've collaborated, and I think one of the first, I had a list of 6 people when I got the job that I needed to call, and every one of them were prominent, people in our community, whether it was a preacher, whether it was, whoever it was in our community. One of them was the mayor of Kennesaw. And that was one of the first people I called because, I told him, I said, look, there's a lot of schools in our area, but there's only one that has the word Kennesaw in the name. So let's get this thing on the same page. And, and what I told him and what I think we continue to do is we try to have a presence at every event that the city of Kennesaw hosts, whether that's, out, passing out the little replica footballs or those stickers I was telling you about. The city of Kennesaw does a big Shanty Festival where they shut down everything in downtown. And it's just, it's thousands of people setting up tents, everything like that. We'll either set up a tent or we'll just have players out there in jerseys walking around talking to people. We don't want anything. We just want you to see us. That's it. We want to develop that relationship. You don't know, on a Saturday afternoon with all those people down there, my view is you don't know whose hand you're going to shake and talk to and introduce yourself to that, next year, 5 years, whenever it is down the road, might have a way to help your program and help these kids. So, we put our kids out there. I tell our kids it's a great opportunity to work on social skills. Look up from your phone and shake somebody's hand and talk to them about, football. So we collaborate in that way with the city of Kennesaw. We go to every event. They do Big Shanty Festival, Smoke on the Water, which is like a barbecue festival. Any type of kid, youth thing we try to get involved in. So that collaboration,
awesome.
That's a key thing, man. And it takes effort, all this stuff. People, it's like you said, a lot of guys don't really have a plan for it. And if you don't have a plan for it, man, whatever time you think you're going to, eat up or being a head coach, you better multiply that thing if you don't have a plan for this community support, because it takes a lot of effort for sure.
Well, and if you don't have a plan, these other 4 things don't matter. But one of your plans have to be to collaborate with people. And I think you hit on an important thing there. It takes effort. And effort is free. That's the good thing about effort. So you know, because there's going to be teams, and Coach, I mean, everybody that listens to this is not going to know you or your area like I do, but there's
Yeah.
teams in your area that have maybe some advantages over y'all. Okay, they do. They just maybe they have a little
Yeah.
better players, maybe they have this or that. They don't have more time than y'all. They don't. Effort doesn't cost anything. It's your job to give effort, and I think a lot of times we're easy as coaches to throw our hands up and say, well, so and so's got this or so and so's got that, and we can't be, you know. But what are you doing? Are you really doing everything you can? And if you're not getting out to these festivals and things like that because it's just too much work or you can't get organized or something, then you don't really get to come back and talk about how these other people have stuff. You
Yeah.
know, because maybe the
Oh,
reason
yeah.
they have that is because they did all these things. I was on with Hal Lamb today on our podcast, and a lot of mistake people don't know about Coach Lamb is his team at Calhoun went 2-8 his first year.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they were 7-3 the next year or something. But nevertheless, they won like 9 games in 2 years, and then the next 18 years they won something like 250 games or 230 games. I don't know. But they lost like 20 and
Yeah.
won 230. So does that mean you're going to? No, it doesn't. But it does mean that they were 2-8 one year. They
Mm-hmm.
were 7-3 the next year. They weren't always 14-1 or whatever they ended up being a lot. So maybe these teams are good because they've done a lot of this stuff. So instead of worrying about what they're doing, just worry about what you can do and give that effort, because effort is the same at an 0-10 school and a 10-0 school. Effort is the same. It costs the same. You know, it's equal, and time is equal. Some other stuff's not equal. I'm not going to BS a lot of people. Some stuff's not equal. But you got to focus on the stuff that is equal. And I know y'all are doing that. That's why I was excited to talk to you about this subject, because things like getting out to those festivals and doing that kind of stuff is awesome. That is a great collaboration. I couldn't have thought of a better example than that. That was awesome.
Yeah. It's funny. Sorry to interrupt. It's funny you talk about, you know, the effort side of it, because I'm big on controlling what we can control. That's one of our core principles that we talk about with our kids. And I tell our coaches, I tell anybody who will listen in the community everywhere, you know, I'm not going to preach one thing to our kids and then be a hypocrite and complain about things that, you know, I could fix. And to me, like, control what I can control. I can control the presence we have. At the end of the day, my duty is to serve these kids and make sure that they have the best football experience, high school football experience that they could possibly have. And if I don't put the effort in the community, then I'm shortchanging those kids. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm the most competitive person you'll meet. You know, if you and I sat down and try to play checkers, I try to beat you in some checkers. But at the end of the day, though, my job and my duty is to make sure that these kids have the best high school football experience. And if that's going to be true, then that means it's going to require a community. These kids, just because our kids didn't win as many games as some kids down the road, doesn't mean that our kids don't deserve to be loved on and to be, you know, to have the same experience as those kids, in my opinion. That's where, you know, when it gets really, really tough and I'm having to come home and then turn around and go right back out the next morning for festivals or whatever else. That's what it falls back to me is, you know, at the end of the day, like, I want our community to support our program. More importantly, I want them to support our kids.
Absolutely. And Coach, keep in mind that, you know, I always had the attitude of, if I was going to fail at something, I was going to fail doing it to the best of my ability. And I guess what I'm saying is, I think you're going to succeed. But I think as people look at you, if you're sitting around and one of these people complaining about what everybody else has, and you're not getting up the next morning and going to the festival, then everybody else may not know this, but you know you didn't do everything you could have done to help that program. And,
Without a doubt.
you know, I think you are doing it. And so, I mean, I think you guys got a great program as far as I'm concerned. I just know there are teams in your general area that may have a couple more players than y'all have, or may have this or that, or maybe they are a city school and they're, you know, there's things like that
Yeah.
it's just different, guys. But don't listen to Coach talk and say, well, see, you think of it that way, but some people are going to listen to this and say, well, Coach is in Kennesaw, Georgia, where they got all this money. Of course he can do that. No, that's not true. Everybody's got hurdles, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's your job to give effort and not make excuses. And so,
Right.
you know, community, and I think people buy into that on offense and defense and player development. I don't think they always look in the mirror and do it. You know, I think they
Yeah.
tell it to other people. but I don't think they look in the mirror and say, am I doing it with community support? Am I doing everything I can do? And that's why we're doing these kind of things, is not because I don't know anybody doing it on purpose. I don't know anybody messing up on purpose. So if I sound preachy, I apologize. I don't think anybody's messing up on purpose. I do think people are messing up on accident. I think people are not noticing that they're not doing that kind of stuff. So when they hear about you doing it, it makes them want to do it. And that's the whole point of what I'm trying to do, to be honest. The next thing is great social media presence, but could also probably be worded by program promotion. But I think you get tired of saying the same thing over and over again. But if it's a great social media presence, I think embrace the technology. Nowadays, you can have a brand. You got a brand behind you right now. You can have a brand. You can put it places. You don't have to. When Scott Jones was doing that at Kennesaw Mountain in 2000 and probably 5, 6, and that he was having to actually really, really work at that because it was harder to do. You had to go send things off to get things ordered and blah, blah, blah. Now you can make a logo in your PowerPoint, in Word, in Google, whatever. There's all these things that you can make your brand, and you can kind of set the narrative of when people see this Mustang, they know that's Kennesaw Mountain. And when they see this, they know, so tell us a little bit about what you guys do to promote your program in general. And it can be through social media or otherwise.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head right there. It's a lot. Social media has made it a lot easier to promote your program. I think everybody's doing it. If they're not doing it, they're about to be doing it. But they, for me, I got on the social media train because the first thing was the kids growing. I wanted to find a way to relate to get to the kids to where they could see, have a presence on there, and I could. And at the end of the day, we're going to promote our program, but I use my social media. I use we're on Twitter and Instagram. And, I use that mainly to promote our kids, to promote, our program. I want people to see, like we just talked about, I want people to see our kids working. Our kids are working the same way as everybody else. If somebody's thinking about supporting us, I want them to pull up Twitter or pull up Instagram and look at there and see, man, those kids are really working hard. Or, man, those kids are out in the community. Man, those kids are helping others. Those are the things I want them to see. I don't just sit on there and put, and I do it a lot, but I don't just get on there and, retweet highlights. I think that's another aspect of it that, you promote your kids for recruiting. But I get on there and I'll tweet out pictures of our kids, serving food. I'll get on there and, tweet out pictures of our kids doing community service stuff, working in the weight room, whatever it is, because I want people to see our kids working. And it's free advertising. You follow the right people and, you get in with them on social media, then it's as much as they can see, it gets back to that paint the town green mentality that we have. I'm going to paint Twitter green. I'm going to paint Instagram green. I want them to try to seeing, at Coach Carmean tweeting stuff. I want them to, get sick of seeing it because that means I'm starting to have a presence and in the forefront.
Well, and it's free too, This is free too. I mean, that's it. What I'm saying is what we're talking about now. So don't come out with we don't have the money, we don't have the people, because there is truth. Listen, there's a lot of truth to this. Every school is a little different on what they can fundraise and stuff like that. But every school is equal on stuff that's free. Effort is free. Tweeting is free. Instagram's free. You build your brand, and then also take advantage. If you're at a school with a lot of money, then obviously go raise a lot of money and spend a lot of money. But if you don't have a lot of money, you can still give effort. You can still do these things. So that kind of fits into the next thing, which is trust. And and by trust, what I mean by that is the community has to feel like if we give you this $500 or this $1,200, whatever it is, that you're going to use it to the best of the ability of the kid. And I'm not trying to tell stories about how people don't do that, of course, but because I don't think a ton of people are doing anything wrong or illegal. I do think they do a bad job of promoting what they're doing. So we tried to, when we spent money, I hate to say advertise it, but we tried to say, look, you guys helped us. Look what we did for these kids, So I think part of program promotion is you showing that we are using your money to help kids, and here's how. So what do you guys do to promote trust back and forth between you and the community?
Yeah, biggest thing, of course, the biggest expense, if it's an expense for your program, is feed your kids on Thursdays and Fridays for us. Be in varsity. I mean, I try to feed our kids. I tell our Booster Club to go ahead and get ready. I'm trying to feed our kids more at our school than they, at home. And I think I'm going to go on a tangent here, but I'll get back to the trust, I promise. But I think there's a misconception because of we are Kennesaw, and a lot of people look at us. That's Cobb County. There's a lot of money there. That we're in a situation of haves and have-nots as far as we do have that upper class that that has a lot of access to a lot of things, but then we got a lot of our kids who are on free and reduced lunch, or who struggle to know where their next meal is going to come from. So in my view is, and this is kind of the way I was raised, you can always develop relationships over food. Kids love, as much as I can feed our kids together, those kids who come from those different socioeconomic backgrounds, they're going to eat together, they're going to sit down and talk, and that's going to just make our team and our team more unified. So that's kind of what I look at as far as spending money and stuff. But for us, trust, man, it starts on Thursdays and Fridays when it doesn't start, but like whenever we feed our kids, I'll have a Booster Club member will be there with a thank you card. Thank you cards don't, it's not a big deal, but for me, it's another opportunity to I have every kid who eats that meal sign that thank you card. And then we take thank you, and I'll put a little note in there, thank you so much for your support. And that thank you card gets delivered back to the restaurant, whoever our contact person was at that restaurant. And they they do it, they might throw it away. I don't know. Some of them might put it up in the window, whatever. But that was just something that just shows that, hey, every kid who ate this meal told you thank you. And that's a two-way street, because now I'm teaching my kids, I feel like, thank people, obviously, but nothing's free. It requires effort to say, hey, thank you so much for this food. If somebody's there feeding us, every kid who goes through the line, thank you, saying thank you, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. But so we do that thank you card, and then we also will retweet whoever fed us or we'll tweet out whoever fed us that meal. Hey, thank you to @Copeland's, and tag them in it and take a picture of our kids eating it. And like I think I hit on it a minute or earlier, we right now with this tough time with so many restaurants struggling, we're going out into our community and finding those restaurants and saying, hey, how can we help you? Can I go ahead and, I'm going to feed our kids randomly in the middle of the summer. Can I pay for it now? And if I pay for it now, will that help you get through this tough time? And that's, and that's what I tell them is, I don't know. I don't have the answers. This is unprecedented. Nobody knows when this thing's going to end or, how to handle it. All I know is that if I'm going to preach relationships and preach community, then us as a program better be getting out and helping our community and helping those relationships with our sponsors. So we're doing everything we can right now to kind of promote that trust. But then, I tweet it out all the time, put on Instagram, whatever, get our kids to do it. When you eat at a restaurant, we got these little cards that says like, thank you for being a Kennesaw Mountain football sponsor. Just leave that in there when you leave it. So they just know, that is helping us as far as promotion goes, because they don't want to just see their money. They write a check or they donate some food, a whole, $500 worth of food. They don't want to just see that go into a black hole that they never see it in return for. So I think that's a big part.
Absolutely. Coach, it's some good stuff now. I'm telling you, I hope I'm going to have to go back and watch this, take a few notes myself. Y'all are doing a good job. Y'all are really genuinely doing a good job. I know it's my job to promote the guest in some cases, but I really mean this. Y'all are doing a good job. Y'all need to keep doing those same things. So tell me a little bit about a game day at Kennesaw Mountain, and what would you guys do in the community, which I know this is something that's different as a head coach because you're in with the team. It's 5 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock, it's 6:15. You're going out to warm ups. You're doing, you're nothing to do with this. So this is your vision in through them. But you really, the best places, these were the traits we came up with. The best places had a great game day culture. And so tell us a little bit about the game day culture at Kennesaw Mountain.
Now I'm excited to talk about this one. Now this gets me fired up. So first off, I think it falls back to what I hit on at the beginning of this. It's alignment. You got to make sure that everybody who touches your program, whether it's Booster Club, administration, whoever it is who has an effect on that game day culture, is aligned with our vision, with my vision is what it really boils down to. I want it to be an experience at the mountain on a Friday night. I want people to kind of create that atmosphere to where that's where they want to be on a Friday night. I want it to be a destination that students want to be at. I want it to be a destination that our community wants to be at, that there's nowhere else on a Friday night they would rather be than at Mustang Stadium. And that's just my view of it. And, when I got the job, the very first thing I did, I said, hey, how are we gonna ramp up a Friday night? Let's get the plan together. And we created what we call the corral. And everybody has one. We didn't really have one in the last few years. Scott Jones had one way back in the day. I said, well, I'm going to take, and I told Scott Jones, I said, I'm going to take your idea. I'm going to make it better. That's what we do as coaches. We take ideas from other people, we steal them, and
Absolutely.
we try to make it into our own. But we created a corral, which is like a little corner of our end zone. And, we get a sponsor to feed those. And it's you pay a fee or whatever. It's a booster club level that you can join at or whatever. And people come in and we feed them. We got music playing. It's in the back of the end zone. So I tell them all it's the best seat in the house. We just created a great atmosphere there, and it's right by the gate when you come in. So it's the first thing people see, and it's almost like that mentality of how do I get in there? So then you get people asking, how do I get in there? Well, for this price, we'll feed you every Friday night, and it's good. We're not throwing out hamburgers and hot dogs. I mean, we're feeding them Copeland's, Louisiana Grill. We're feeding them Carrabba's, Italian. I mean, there's some good. We take care of them in there, but that's the first thing. That was one of the big things we did that had, I think, a positive effect on our game day culture. And then, we do game day sponsors, which I'm sure, everybody does, but we really, take care of those people. When they're a game day sponsor, they come out for the coin toss. We let them stand on the sideline, outside the box, of course. I tell them all the time, hey, I'll let you call the plays, but obviously not, but just to whatever it takes to make them feel like they're a part of it, to where they can feel like they're a part of that. They're a game day sponsor, but they're having a positive effect on that game day culture. And I think as much as you can get music going, as much as you can create excitement, at the end of the day, we didn't have a very good year as far as our record goes last year, but the fact that we were still able to make, we were still making money off of gates week 10, week 9 shows that, I think it falls back on that game day culture. It falls back on the culture that we created, that, the product on the field, and I tell people all the time, the product on the field is going to improve. We're improving the product on the field. But that culture, that's what's going to drive, that game day culture is what's going to drive the presence and going to create the more and more excitement around our program for sure.
Absolutely, Coach. I'm going to hit a few of these you answered already, so I'm going to skip around a little bit.
Right.
What, because you've done a great job. What role do you think the administration plays in this? We haven't talked much about administration, and obviously, but community support doesn't have to mean the booster club. I think I think a big part of it is the booster club, but we're talking about 10 different things, and one of them is the booster club, as far as gaining your community support. But what role do you think the administration plays in that?
I think it's a huge role. I think that alignment factor, that alignment piece it's as much as it goes, booster club, parents, community, up to me, then it goes from me to athletic director to principal, and making sure that we're all aligned as well. I think that the administration they're the voice on a Friday night that I'm not going to be. They're able to help dictate that culture and help dictate that vision. But people also like to see that the commitment to improving campus. If people are going to write checks, are going to find a way to sponsor or to support you, they want to see a commitment to that, to where there's a lot of people like to see their money being used. You know what I mean? They like to see improvement in the stadium, improvement in the field house, whatever it is. And that's where that administration being on the same page really helps. And, a lot of times I tell people, a lot of times the administration, the principal or the AD can get me into a door that I may not be able to get into by myself. And if they can help me get into that door, then I can promote our entire program. Because, I think that, and I tell everybody, listen, the football program is the front porch of your school. As far as the way I look at it, we're the first thing that people see in the fall. We're the thing that that kind of opens up or brings people into the school. So if we're all on the same page, I think that's going to help all of us. And if I can get into some of those meetings or doors that I maybe couldn't have got into by myself because of that alignment factor, that's only an added benefit for not only the football program but also the school and the school culture.
Absolutely, I think it's part of collaboration. I think the administration is obviously a part of it. I've been an administrator, so I'm biased, but I think it's a part of it. But there's a piece of where just all these sports, all the administrators, all kind of just being in this together to build that brand of, most people are going to see football. Probably more people are going to come through the gate of the football game than some of the other events. But when they come watch the tennis team play, they're still come watching Kennesaw Mountain. That's still part of your brand, whether you like it or not. That when people put that G on for Georgia, I went to Alabama, people see the say for Alabama or they see that G for Georgia. It might be Alabama girls soccer, but it's Alabama, and they think of Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. Whether we think that or not, that's what they think. So every time somebody is representing your school, they're a part of this community support thing. Yeah. And the places that were really good at this have it across many facets, and they're not just really good at one sport's good at community support. They're really trying to grow that into throughout the athletic department, through the administration, through the school department, clubs, the band, the CTSO organizations, whatever. They're trying to build through all those. And now football sometimes sets the brand. Like that G for Georgia does not mean Georgia football. It means the University of Georgia. You see it as Georgia football maybe, but that could be Georgia nursing, Georgia law, Georgia education department, whatever. So I think it plays a great role in it. What do you think is the biggest detriment to gaining community support? Like not just for you personally, but maybe just in general, or you personally. What are the things that you think get in the way of this?
For us personally, I'll do that one first. Personally, it's so crowded. Everybody, as far as there's so many schools. And if you're not familiar with Kennesaw Mountain, we are less than a half a mile from Mount Perrin. We are on the same road as Harrison High School. We are less than 5 miles from North Cobb. I mean, there's so many schools who have a great brand, who have a great history and tradition already established, that we're having to kind of battle with a lot of these sponsors. Some places you go, you're the only show in town, so it's just easier as far as getting it set up. There's other challenges, obviously, but for us, it's such a convoluted area as far as trying to battle those other schools for sponsorships. But our sponsors do a great job. Our community does a great job of trying to support everybody. But that's our biggest
Absolutely,
trying to battle those other guys.
We kind of hit on my answer to that, which would be effort is the biggest detriment, because it's kind of hard. I mean, I'll be honest, it's kind of hard to come up with. It's easy, it's fun and easy to come up with an offensive plan, a defensive plan, and even to some degree a plan for rec leagues or working with the youth, or some of that stuff's fun and easy. This is not really that fun and easy, and so I think it just takes effort, and sometimes the effort is just it gets put to the back burner, and then accidentally people forget to do it. I don't think on purpose they do, but accidentally they forget to do it. That kind of leads into my next question, which is, I love asking this question, and everybody that listens to this stuff knows this, that I think you gain a lot more from messing up than you do winning. To be honest, I learned way more from losing than winning. I learned way more from messing up than doing something right. So what's the time you made a mistake, and it can be in this realm or I guess any other, and you wish you had handled it differently?
I made a lot of them, I feel like, but
most people have, by the way.
Yeah. My first year when I got the job, I'm a little different as far as effort and energy, and I like to be all over the place. I like to have a hand in everything. But my first year on the job, I was obviously the head coach. I was the offensive coordinator. I was coaching the quarterbacks. And then I said, I'm going to be the one that shakes every hand of our community, of everybody in our community. So then it becomes, the time, and I'm going to teach, and do my responsibilities, or do the best of my ability as a teacher too. So the time management that first year, I was, and my wife will reinforce this, I'm sure, I was the worst at delegating. I didn't let anybody else do it, and I think it's double-sided there, because I also, my built-in excuse, I guess, for myself was, and I would tell anybody who, well, why don't you let somebody else do it? No, if this is going to be me, I'm going to be the face of it. I got to be out there. Well, I just did a poor job there, I think, that first year of allowing, a booster club member to go pick up something that I could have done. Or I probably wore myself, ran myself ragged trying to make sure that I was doing all the football side of it, but then also doing all the community side of it, doing all the admin side of it, making sure that you're getting your inventory and all that type of stuff. So I think that I did a terrible job my first year overall at delegating. And, those are things you learn, I guess, and I'm trying to do better at it, but I'm still never going to be able to completely, turn things over. I think that's just the way I'm wired.
Well, it's important to do some of both, I think. I think it's important to be a person that cares enough to be willing to do everything and gives the effort and all that. You will have to find more and more people that you can trust to do these things, because you can do so many more things together. I've learned something just today talking to you. I've learned you can always learn with two people better than you can one. So the same is true for work and all that. So I think that's a common mistake But to maintain the level of consistency you're going to have, it is something you have to find a balance. I don't know, some of these people that act like just getting out of the way and letting everybody do it, they don't do that either. That just sounds good,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but there is a medium somewhere
Mm-hmm.
where you're the boss, you're the head coach, you got to take responsibility for this stuff, and you got to be out in front of it. And I think you got to be the hardest worker, but you don't have to be the only worker. And that's something I could have learned from myself. I wasn't always great at that either. What advice do you have for aspiring head coaches? I mean, you're a guy that's fairly young. You got a job you kind of aspired to be. You said you kind of set out on this course a few years ago, and just, let me tell you this first off. The truest thing is you don't know anything about being head coach till you are. Yes. And it doesn't matter if you're 50 or 30. That's still true.
Yep.
But since a lot of people that listen to this stuff are aspiring head coaches, what is something now that they can be doing that now you look back and say, maybe I wish, or I did this well, or maybe something I wish I had done well, 5-6 years ago to help me prepare now?
Yeah, and I probably sound a little bit like a broken record here, but it's just who I am. I think the very most important thing you can do if you want to have any, whether you just want to be a coach at any level, but if you want to be a head coach especially, you got to invest in relationships. Yeah, I think that, and I'll tell everybody in my program, you win with people. I think that everybody counts, everybody matters, and it requires you to invest time and effort into developing those relationships. You don't ever know who's going to be an AD. I've had to remind myself that a lot of times. You don't ever know who's going to be a principal one day. It might be, the social studies teacher down the hallway in 5 years, you're trying to get a job from them. And if you were, too cool or didn't care enough to put in that effort to develop that relationship, you ain't got a chance at it. So I think that, you got to develop relationships. That's the thing that now when I'm looking at even hiring assistant coaches, I've gotten away from, and I think that's probably another thing I can look at that, the mistakes I made. I'm getting away from just hiring guys because they have really good football knowledge. I want guys who can relate to our kids and relate to kids in general. I can teach you what you need to know. I feel like we can, as a staff, we can come up with a really good plan. But if you can't get that message across to those kids and you can't get that buy-in, it doesn't matter what you know. So I think that relationship piece is key, man. You got to develop relationships where you are. You develop relationships in the building that you're in. The athletic director that hired me in this position, he's now the county athletic director for Cobb County, Don Baker. That relationship, I think, is a huge reason why I'm in the position I'm in. He coached me in high school. He was a football coach when I was in high school. That was a relationship that I leaned on him heavily. I still lean on him heavily as far as, assistance or questions, bouncing ideas off of him. But that relationship is, has led me to be in the position I'm in, I feel like. So I think you never know who you're going to need something from. But at the end of the day, you're never going to be like, man, I wish I wouldn't have put so much time into developing a relationship. Right. Nobody's ever said that.
Nobody's ever said that. That's a great. I've heard a ton of people say they wish they would have spent more time doing that. I've never heard anybody saying they spent too much and it didn't pay off. I mean, I've spent time with people and built relationships that probably didn't pay off, but I didn't regret it when it was over. You know what I mean? You didn't lose anything by doing that.
It falls back on what you said, about learning. You put effort into developing a relationship with somebody, you don't know what you're going to learn. Right. You might learn what not to do.
Yeah.
But
absolutely. So. Absolutely, Coach. That's some good stuff. I'm telling you, I learned a lot myself, and I really appreciate you coming on with me. That was big time there. Good stuff.
I appreciate it. It's good. I enjoyed it. It's fun.
Yeah, thanks a lot.